So you're looking to buy your first home, and that's super exciting, but it's also super terrifying because where the crap do you start? What should I be looking for? All common questions that first-time home buyers have. So today we're going to talk through 3 tips for the first-time home buyer that's looking to buy their first house. What's up, everybody? So we are doing a video today for 3 tips for the first-time home buyer, just to help them kind of figure out, where do I start? What am I looking for? So before we get into any of that, as always, if you guys could like the videos, I'd appreciate it. It helps me. If you want to subscribe, great. Share it with your friends, family, whatever. I'm here to be a resource, here to give you information so that way you guys can make the best decision when it comes to real estate. So let's get into it. All right, so before we get into the 3 tips, just real quick, talk about something. So obviously, everybody's situation is going to be different. No one is the same. Maybe some people can afford more of a house. Maybe some people can't. Everybody's situation is different. It's about where you are. Real estate is about you. It's about finding out where you're comfortable, what you're trying to do. And my goal is to help you achieve it, right? That's my job as a realtor. So it's one of those that we're going to talk kind of in a generic sense about first-time home buyers, all right? Like if you can afford a $700,000 house as your first house, congrats. But most people, that's not the case. So let's get into these tips. Okay, so tip number 1 when you're looking for your first home is I would encourage a first-time home buyer to look at townhouses or a small single-family home. Now, a lot of people say townhouses, whoa, that's not a good idea. Well, pump the brakes on that, because I know a lot of people are like, oh, well, it's not a single-family home. And I get that. And don't get me wrong, townhouses don't have typically as much value as like a single-family home would, okay? But I would tell you that townhouses are where a lot of people start for their first homes, because they buy them, they make them better, and they sell them in the future for a profit and get a house. It all depends on where you're at, right? Like, where are you looking for this place? And do you have the means to get a single family home? Maybe you need to look at a townhouse, because typically townhouses are going to be cheaper than single family homes. So something to think on when you're thinking about buying your first house. Okay, so tip number 2 is going to be, when you're buying a place, you don't have to buy immaculate. It doesn't have to be fully refinished, right? Maybe you need to replace the carpet. Maybe you need to replace the counters, something like that. Now, I'm not saying buy a dump. I'm not saying that. You don't want to buy something that there's so much upkeep and you're just always trying to do something that you get burnt out. So I'm not telling you to do that, right? But if you buy like a townhouse, for instance, try and buy something that you can make better and that you can make some money on in the future. Now, if you can afford to buy, maybe let's say talk about townhouse and it can be a little bit nicer, great, do it. But if you're not able to, find something that you can make a little bit better instead of having to redo everything. When you're looking at a single family home, first of all, little note, don't buy a single family home that has tons of bushes and trees. That's a lot of upkeep. Okay, that's just a little thing. But find something that, whether it be a single family home or townhouse, that you can redo things over time and make it better, so that way you're making a profit and eventually you can buy a better house. Okay, so number 3 is going to be the area that you buy this home, whether it be a single family home, a condo, a townhouse, whatever it is. And the reason I say area is you're trying to think of resale value. So if you're buying something, let's say a townhouse, you're going to be thinking in the future of, okay, I want to sell this townhouse to eventually buy a house. Okay, so you need to think of the resale value. So does the house back up to a main street? Is it in a good area? Those are lots of different questions that you can ask that will actually hinder or help the value, right? Because obviously if you're looking at a place and it's just a dump in, let's say, a townhouse complex, and they don't keep up with everything, maybe you don't want to buy there, because maybe that's harder to sell. Or if you back up to a freeway or something, maybe that's going to hurt you. This is something to talk with your realtor about, because it's one of those that you want to kind of ask about some of these questions, and they should be pointing these things out. A professional realtor will be pointing some of these things out, because you need to know ahead of time when you're going into it and not find out later on when you try to sell it. So listen, if you have questions about this stuff, I would love to speak with you about it and just be able to help however I can, be a resource for you. My information is below here. It's in the description. Please reach out to me if you have any questions. Guys, you've been listening to The Real.